Hey, guys and gals. It's good to be with you on this August 12th. It is a Monday night in August. It's the second Monday night in August that we've done together. And it's going to be a good one because not only are we ending tonight's show and jumping right into the second session of book club, but we also have a wonderful first half guest tonight, someone that everybody loves. He's a fan favorite. He knows what he's doing. And not only is his friendship invaluable, but his professional input is also invaluable, especially when you're gliding through, or I would just say careening through an election year as crazy as this, as if we're actually making our way toward an election. That's the real question, is what is about to happen in November even an election? But it's going to be fun one way or another. I am committed to having fun because what are we going to do? Waste choose to give away precious years of our already short lives? Can't do that. So listen, maybe some nights are saltier than others, but for the most part, we have to be the ones who are committed to enjoying life. And I have a lot of fun time. I have a lot of enjoyment when Rich Baris is on the show tonight. So Rich is on, and I've got to ask him a lot of questions about this Kamabla simulation. It's not a situation. It's a simulation. And it just happens to, as most things usually do, I get him on the show. I work it out with him and Laura to get on the show on Saturday night or Sunday morning or something like that. And of course, we wake up today, and there is an announcement from Elon Musk that Donald Trump is going to be doing a Twitter Spaces around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then shortly after that announcement, Donald Trump started tweeting. And it's been a crazy day. It's been a crazy day. Just because you're watching the response and the crying and the EU, the European Union sent its quisling, limp-wristed delegate. What the hell is this guy's name? Benton with the bent dick. He essentially begged Elon Musk to censor Donald Trump because the harm it would cause to helpless Europeans who have barely learned how to wipe their own asses. All of our good friends out there in Europe, throughout all the European countries that watch this show, all of the poor adults, you poor European adults, according to the EU, they have barely learned how to wipe their own asses, let alone be able to read something that might provoke controversy. It's been a really entertaining day. So that being said, it's going to be it's going to be a current events kind of a night. As far as the Twitter Spaces thing, I'm going to listen to that afterwards. It's probably going to go on well past this show ending at 9 o'clock anyway. So I will listen to a few minutes. We'll see if Rich wants to stay on for 5 to 10 minutes and just sit back and listen a little. I don't know, but I can't give a whole hour of this show to listening to somebody else's stream. And it's going to be there for everybody to listen over the course of the next few days. So we'll just hang out together because in the second half, I've got a really interesting AI article that has a lot to do with everything else that we're doing in the first half. And then time for your calls. I just want to get your calls. It's been a big day. Why not get some time for reaction? So that's what we got going on this August 12th. And then we get off around 8:50 and we jump into our wonderful book club session. So there you have it. Tomorrow is looking like a pretty interesting day. No guest that I know of right now, but we are going to have a couple of really cool topics that we're working on. It'd be fun. Little outside the box topics. Maybe a little bit of time travel. Now, as of right now, on August 14th, we have Sam Childers coming on the show. He's known as the Machine Gun Preacher. Look into him. I hope he comes on. I think we got him. On August 15th this week, Cheryl Daly, homeschooling, back to school. She is a New Yorker that is a champion homeschooler. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that. And then on that's on Thursday. That's on Thursday. Tomorrow is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, that all works out. And then Friday, August 16th, I'm off that night. I'm off on Friday the 16th. So of course something huge will happen, and I'll have to do maybe I'll do a something in the middle of the day. Who knows? Even if it's just a cigar stream, a coffee stream, I usually do something. It's very hard for me to step away, but I like giving some summer nights to Aurora and Lauren and just being quiet for a little bit. So that's what I got going on. Next week, more, and I'll fill you in on that. Actually, did I do anything else over here? A couple things I have in here? Nah, we won't talk about that just yet. All right, into the grab bag we go. I as you know, I caught a few competitive moments with the Olympics over the last couple of weeks. And we talked about that on Friday night, but damn, were the games ever sandwiched? And of course, the games weren't completely devoid of their own, chicanery. But were they ever sandwiched between two? Were the closing ceremonies and the opening ceremonies always an entire workday long? Is that something that's always been the case? Like, I'm talking about going back. We're talking many, many hours. Such weirdos involved in putting it all together. Maybe we'll bring Ryan Gable back on to do a de-occulting of the closing ceremonies anyway, but they were just as long, drawn out, monotone, dark at times. Definitely closing rituals, very ritualistic. But that's just, it was more so just head scratching to me. But we weren't sitting there watching. Every once in a while, the channels would get flipped. My mother or somebody's working on the, watching the television on a Sunday afternoon because family is coming over. And you just see things happening. It's like, what the hell is that? And then they sing My Way. Somebody comes out and sings My Way. I said, if nukes start popping off in the next couple of days, couple of weeks, I'll know why that they chose My Way to end this whole thing. But then of course there was this where they closed out the Paris Games, which served then as a quasi-opening ceremony for the Los Angeles 2028 Games, because then they jumped from Paris all the way on over to California, and it was opened up by who? What did the first people everybody see from Paris to Los Angeles? It was Snoop Dogg. First thing he does, he sings Gin and Juice. I didn't know what was worse, analyzing the pagan opening in Paris or the fact that gin and juice is our welcoming theme to the United States. But that's what we have with that. So at least it's 4 years away. All right, first thing up over here from Leading Report, and that's not it. That is. Did you hear that Thomas Crooks, everybody, Stephen Paddock Jr., Thomas Crooks spent months engaging in rifle training at the same training facility used by DHS and multiple local and federal law enforcement agencies, according to newly released records. No, really? I would have never thought something like that was possible. I'm surprised we even got this. Did they throw in some flight training there too? Did they teach him how to fly a commercial jetliner as well? I wonder if that's it. Just like complimentary 737 training. Incredible. Oh, back to the Olympics for a second. Here is judoka Hassan Al-Bayan, who was sent by Syria to the Paris Olympics, who's decided, I'm not going back to Syria. And he applied for asylum in Germany instead. So there you go. Asylum. He needed to be rescued from the country that sent him to the Olympics. That sounds like 21st century asylum to me. Just say, I'm running from something, even though something sent you away. Anyway, here's one last thing for you. What time is it? I think we're doing all right. Country superstar Jelly Roll rescues a 3-time cancer survivor hooked up to an IV pole in concert. Now, the only reason why I know about Jelly Roll is because I think my father-in-law went to go see this guy. I think when they were in Georgia recently, they went to go see them. He said, do you know who Jelly Roll is? I said, no. But Mark Swan sent this to me. So let's see here. A woman, Kathy Montalvo, was told in December that she would only survive 3 months. Surpassing that, she checking items off her to-do list. So they gave her like a terminal sentence here with her illness. And she went to a Jelly Roll concert with all of her medication on an IV tree. Every decision music fans dreams of, every dedicated music fan dreams of the day their favorite artist notices them in the crowd of a concert and makes you feel like the only one in the room. At the end of July, Kathy Montalvo experienced that moment at a Jelly Roll concert in Midland. He was singing and all of a sudden he double took me. Her road to that moment, however, was more difficult than most. I beat cancer 3 times. The last time, instead of chemo for my hair, I went through nuclear medicine. The side effects in nuclear is eating my soft tissue and organs. After aggressive treatment, Montalvo explained her esophagus is melted. That sounds great. Why it's even suggested to people is incredible. Now she can't eat or drink. Great. Sounds great. How barbaric. Feels so bad. She receives all her nutrients and water through bags connected to her body through a port for 17 hours a day. She uses a small sponge to wet her mouth and is terrified of choking. In December, she was given just 3 months. So she went to this Jelly Roll concert and she's in the crowd with all of her stuff. You can see her in there? Is that it? Oh, yeah. There she is, doing what she can. You know, good for her. As horrible as that is, just the situation, the options. That is a woman who is just wants to experience life and talk about not letting anything stop her. Oh, man. Well, God love her. And I hope that something really breaks. You want to talk about red pills. You want to talk about turning the tide. You want to talk about paradigm shifts. That's where we really need one. Big time paradigm shift. All right. With that being said, let's do a little bit of an intro. When we come back, just a couple minutes before Rich Baris joins us. So don't go anywhere.
Hey guys, it's me, Moonlit Matt. Are your pants off yet? Because they should be, because you're entering Quite Frankly. Or is he entering you? Enjoy the show.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rip!
It was worth the price of admission, which is nothing. But you know, and the other thing there too is, it was exciting. It was a little bit of excitement there. I just had a couple of good chuckles to myself. The cosmic significance of it all, who knows? Maybe nothing. But I'm not going to put any more. I put disclaimers on a lot of things. Okay, it's one of those things that just happens, especially when you're trying to make inroads to very sensitive people, and you want to try to bring everybody in. But there's no disclaimers in this one. It was just kind of like a fun day. And the first thing that Donald Trump's account put out there was this video right here. It's about 2 minutes long. Take a look at this.
We can now project the winner of the presidential race. Donald Trump wins the presidency.
What started off as unlikely, impossible, is now reality.
I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down.
We have a president who actually fulfilled the promises he made during the campaign. Securing the border to foreign policy.
He now has a record as president that's pretty damn impressive.
Breaking news news out of Palm Beach,
The FBI
Florida.
has executed an unprecedented search warrant at President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. The former president has both sides of the political aisle up
This is
in
a
arms.
dangerous and unstable moment in American history.
The Justice Department has just indicted former President Donald Trump.
For 7 years, they hated him, they targeted him, they hunted him.
This is the epitome of the abuse of the prosecutorial power to preempt political decisions.
I never thought anything like this could happen in America. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving. On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done. We will take back our country, and we will make America great again. America will always rise to every challenge and overcome every danger.
Donald Trump seems to always get stronger when challenged. These types of things, I think, give him strength.
When I'm reelected, I will totally obliterate the deep state. As long as we have pride in our beliefs, courage in our convictions, and faith in our God, then we will not fail.
Yeah, you can't beat that energy. There's nothing. Listen, hey, I know, all on the cutting room floor, as they say, right? But it's just, hey, you can't beat that energy. No, at least nothing around here can stack up to it. It just can't. So that was something to behold today, and it's the strongest energy out there. There's no doubt about it. There's nothing that can compete with it legitimately. Just the way it is. Just the way it is. But Time Magazine's gonna Time Magazine's gonna try. Time Magazine puts this piece of shit magazine out. The reintroduction of Kamala Harris. There she is. Her Moment by Charlotte Alter. I can't wait to read it. I'm gonna just gobble it up. So this is the way that the legacy system responds to something like a Donald Trump or anybody that has any kind of organic energy in their own organization. It's just upchuck, you know. And listen, like I said today too, they must secretly hate that they have to do this. People at Time Magazine, they must secretly hate that they have to use all of their magical powers, whatever magical powers they have left, because of course magic requires a lot of belief, and there's a lot less of that around. They must hate that they have to use all of their powers, all of their skills on reanimating this absolutely just revolting intellectual void with no personality woman. It's just, they must hate it. It must really kill them. But as I said today on Twitter, theirs is not to question why. Theirs is just to do or die. And they're going to do. That's what they're doing. So yeah, that's what I have. That's what I've been looking at. That's what I've been watching. And that's really what's on the side here. There's more. Take a look at this one. Take a look at this. This is CBS, because you heard, maybe you haven't. I don't know where else there's going to be a biting off of one of their platforms. I don't know what's really out there. I have to ask Rich about some of this stuff in particular. But Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position on ending taxes on tips and gratuity and all that stuff, which is obviously something that has been on the well known with the Trump camp for some time. So they're copying homework. They usually try to do that stuff because they know that there's nothing really they're vultures. You have to take whatever the hell's lying on the side of the road. But again, this is what it is to belong to the media. This is what it is. Hold on. There you go. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality. These two stories were put side by side by Tim Murdoch. Okay? Here's CBS News, the very same outlet covering Trump 2 months ago. Former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watch group. Think about that. Not taxing tips would cost the federal government money. Cost them money. It's not your money. It didn't cost you anything. I mean, but this is the way that they put all that stuff out there, and they want you to almost feel bad that the government is missing out on all of their blood money, their extortion. It's incredible. So yeah, tonight I want to examine the illegitimate a little bit. And not only because I want that itchy feeling in my brain to get scratched, but because it may actually lead to some better understanding of where the crazies are going to take us next. So we're welcoming back the People's Pundit, Rich Baris, director at Big Data Poll, to talk numbers and to make sense of the simulation that is Kamala Harris. Rich, welcome back to the show.
Hey, brother, thanks for having me back. Simulation's the right thing. I call it the construct, but it is nevertheless the same idea.
Well, you know what? I mean, tomorrow will be... Let's just get into this, because this is nuts. Tomorrow is going to be 1 month since Donald's brush with assassination and in the worst kind of history somebody could be associated with, murder, especially for political purposes. What they were able to project, what they were able to construct in 30 days since the assassination attempt and 45 days since the debate, if you want to go back that far, that was really the start of all this timeline. It's been nothing less than black magic or Indian magic, whatever you want to call it. Please, Rich, let's talk generally about the polling right here. Each side says that the other side is crashing or about to crash in the polls. Yeah. And in this headline right here is something I want to call your attention to. Where are we? There you go. Let's put Rich up on screen. This is from the New York Times. It is a absolute work of art. Inside the worst 3 weeks of Donald Trump's 2024 campaign, Rich, the last 3 weeks should have been his post-assassination attempt honeymoon, but they needed to get off topic so quickly, they forced out Biden, they created Queen Kamala, and they literally kept messaging to themselves that Trump was in complete derailment. Just please take it away. What's real?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, because I don't want to let anybody off the hook here, so there's going to be a lot of criticism coming out of my mouth tonight, all around. And one is, let's start with Team Trump. Okay. The president never believed Joe Biden was going to be the nominee. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. And I was telling you and everybody else for 6 months, it's incredibly difficult. It's not impossible, but it's incredibly difficult to remove the sitting president. And then there's not going to be a Gavin Newsom. There's not going to be a Michelle Obama. None of that is even legal. And yes, they can strong arm some people in their party, but it's very difficult to get past new state laws in New York and Ohio, right? So it was already a very big problem that they were having their convention later. What you're seeing in Axios in the New York Times is a bunch of people who were being praised for 6 months to a year about how disciplined the campaign was. They got all the credit for Donald Trump being disciplined. And now that they're having a bad couple of weeks, Donald Trump is getting all of the blame for those bad couple of weeks. The truth of the matter is they were not capable and had no plan to respond when they pulled what Rui Teixeira, right? I think it's a great way he pointed. He's a Democrat, folks. He's a co-author of The Emerging Democratic Majority. A lot of Democrats still listen to him, even though he was wrong about that book. They love him and they listen to him. The bottom line is they absolutely believed this was a switcheroo. The president saw it coming. They did not, and they have been struggling for weeks to figure it out. So that's one thing. That's the start of it. The second, I mean, we can get into the polls and the in depth because it is very much in the weeds. It's very weedy. But the fact of the matter is, what I don't understand about the right is their inability to acknowledge that the media can do this. Yeah, like the people don't trust the media, but they still run the construct and they still work with the Democratic Party. This is how Democratic campaigns are run in the modern era. This is how it is done. And I cannot believe, it's stunning to me that the right doesn't understand this, number one. Number two, they are led right into it. And number three, because they're cowards and they're stupid, they actually aid them in creating this construct. So it isn't real. She's astroturfed to bloody hell, Frank, but you can make something real. You can manifest fake momentum into real momentum. You can manifest polls into a response bias that blow up her lead. You can do that. And the right is way behind. They don't understand it because they don't control the infrastructure of information. So they're just totally lost in the sauce. You have a bunch of phony new influencers. This is their first election ever or something. Frank, how many elections have you and I alone done this for? This is what they do. They're just getting more brazen in how they change the subject, how they pivot, how they control the narrative. I mean, they tried to kill the guy first when they couldn't kill him. They unseated a sitting president. They created a coup, and that's what it was with Joe Biden. Nobody has ever voted for this woman, yet they know their base. They know it's a hive mind. They know how the right's going to respond. Everybody responds accordingly to how they believe they would. Democrats like drones got in line. The right put their little this is why, please don't call me a Republican. I hate it. I'm not one. They are, I mean, I've certainly might have views that lean to the right, but I don't consider myself in the category with these people because they are on a subpar level with how this works in the information warfare age. And they get scared just like their politicians get scared. And that's why they cave and screw their voter all the time. So they act the way their legislators act, who they keep reelecting and sending back to Congress. So, I mean, it's amazing to me because it's like every time we go through this, I'm like, is this your first election? Is this your first election?
Well, let me ask you this.
I'm sorry about this.
No. Hey, because you brought up a really great follow-up right there. Let's say, because it's true, the infrastructure in the old media, even though it is bankrupt on trust, and it really only reaches a couple of million people a night, but it is then, of course, redistributed on lower levels in a much greater degree, and of course there's a lot of big time money that's pumped in there. It's a front, but it's a very necessary window dressing for everything else. Here's the thing: if you were, let's say that you had a magic wand and you were able to control and influence with great great effectiveness the way that the non-progressive left responds to the way that they just act as if they acted their way as if throughout the entire inauguration process. They just say something, the media parrots it into existence, and then of course the paradigm shifts over a little bit.
You get it. You get how this works.
Totally.
It doesn't seem the right understands this.
So,
Frank.
but
they don't.
But let's say that you had autonomous magical power to respond to what you could have seen coming with Kamala Harris. What is the response when you admittedly don't have the infrastructure to promote this, to put this a massive amount of astroturfing info out there? What would you do to stop it in its tracks, or at least compete?
Well, the thing is, you just don't have the same infrastructure, and this is what they don't understand. And I mean, there's like multiple levels to this problem. The first mistake they made is what they certainly have money, and they have the equal right to compete with that money on the airwaves. And for a while, I was looking at it and I thought it was very fascinating. It was interesting, and it was a smart move. Trump wanted to advertise on specifically like black channels, black radio, like he was reaching black voters through those channels, and that was smart. But if you really did foresee, and they should have at some point, that they were going to pull this switcheroo, then you had to recognize that you don't have this, what some people call the spring offensive. We used to call it back in the day. You don't have this time to reinvent your opponent or define your opponent, and you have to know what the media is going to do, especially since she ran already. And then, you take what they did with her the first time, you take what they did with Biden in 2020, you mash it together because they have to make it work for her, and you amplify it because she's awful, and at least Joe is likable. And he didn't fail the way she failed in 2020. You have to know that, recognize that there should have been immediate response to that, and there wasn't. And then people are like, his supporters are like, oh, he's not going to be baited into spending more money. Frank, that's BS. You have a certain amount of time to define your opponent in the eyes of the public. And that's number one, what he should have been doing. Okay. And I've been over this before a million times. I mean, I can read and I could create an ad for him live on TV right now or live on your show right now. That would be much more effective than the snot that I'm seeing. Like, I mean, they come out with this like crime ad. Dude, do you know what percentage of the electorate told us crime is their number one issue in our poll a week and a half ago? What? 3%, bro. Nobody gives a shit about crime. You're not Richard Nixon. This isn't the 70s, and it isn't, whatever his slogan was, vote for Dick in 72. Like, it's not, this is not that environment. Stop trying to recreate it. Republicans do it every year. They did it in 12. They did it in 16, although he had a lot more to run on and he won, and it wasn't because of crime. They did it in 20 because of the protests that Kamala supported and advocated for and pushed on national TV and then paid to bail the people out who were rioting and burning police buildings down. The left doesn't care. Suburban moms don't care until Antifa goes through their neighborhood and burns down their Tupperware party house. They won't give to you-know-whats, period. End of story. That is not how you reach these people. You do have something the left does not have, all right? You have, and I've been talking to you and many others about this for a year now. You have, for the first time in the history of modern campaigning, especially in a presidential cycle, you have a vast wealth of untapped voters that you're not, I mean, they're doing decently registering them, but I look at the voter file every 2 weeks, every month, a constant. And when we get closer to the election, they'll be updated even more rapidly. They're not doing enough. And there are all these voters out there, Frank, for the first time ever, if you got them to the polls, they would vote for Trump. But that is never the case. My lifetime, your lifetime. It's like Republicans are always waiting and hoping Bill Clinton didn't get a high turnout, hoping Al Gore didn't get a high turnout.
Which
right?
Demo, though? Which demo?
That's the thing. They're so diverse.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing. They could be 50 years old and never have voted before, or maybe they're 50 years old and they quit voting a long time ago. They're younger, and especially when we're talking about, that's the thing with MAGA, it's younger, it's more non-white. I mean, people are looking at the polls right now and they're like, how is he carrying 20% of the black vote? How is he doing this well with certain younger voters and losing? Like, how could this be the case? Because, I mean, this is really what's going to decide it. Like, there are so many people out there, Frank. The numbers are so great. And by the way, perfect example everyone talks about is the Hunters in the Rust Belt. That's it's not tiny, but it's one example that everyone harps on. And unfortunately for the right, you have a lot of grifters who want to try to reinvent the wheel, or they don't even know how the wheel works. And they're trying to sell the Trump campaign and all these other Republicans new, nice, shiny wheels that they don't even know how they work, or what the value of them is. It's a major problem. It really is, because not for nothing, they pushed out the old consultant class in many ways, and these new people don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm sorry. They have an idea of what they need to do, but they don't know how to do it.
So then with you laying it out like that, then I don't know. I don't know if you've heard any credible rumors about the convention, but there's always somebody that comes. Even Donald Trump himself on the 6th of August, I think he put out on Truth Social some ideas he had that Joe Biden, this wasn't the end for Joe Biden, that the convention was going to be a little bit more contested than people think right now. I saw other people say that they have word here that we're going to be getting another bait and switch. But from what you're talking about right now, why create this construct and this moment? It's not fake momentum. It's a fake. It's a psychological operation. It's creating momentum out of absolutely nothing for a person who's universally reviled. But if they're doing all this with such great, I don't know, even mediocre success in now mid August, I can't imagine that they're going to do another bait and switch. This seems like this is who they're going to run, right?
This is the problem, and the campaign's dealing with this with Tim Walz right now. I mean, obviously Tim Walz is a liar and stolen valor. Obviously, Tim Walz has been using his military career. He's been he's not been truthful about it. He's claimed on I mean, Frank, we were told when she picked Tim Walz that they knew about these stolen valor claims, but that they found it was more riskier to pick a Jew than it was to pick someone who was guilty of stolen valor. And they felt like they needed to double down on Tim Walz, and that's the campaign that we're going to run. More of like the Obama style 2012, get your base out, not try to win the middle. And because this whole idea about he's folksy and he appeals to the the working class, blue collars, that's nonsense. There is absolutely no evidence of it, not in the polls and not in the votes that he has received. He won in a very typical Democratic map by juicing the Twin City suburbs and juicing the urban vote, the liberal, white, educated vote. That is, he did not make his way into the battleground areas, and they got a better turnout disproportionately. So they're dealing with that because if they remove him right now, it's going to be hard to reboot this construct, right? And you're going to have to answer questions about how did you not find this before? How, this calling into question your judgment, because of course, what is a nominee's first big decision, right? That really tests their judgment on the decisions they're going to make while they're in office. That is, of course, their vice presidential running mate. So they'd have to reboot that if they replaced Walz and if they replaced Harris at the convention. Two things are going to happen. One, that's going to add to the reboot. And that's not really, I mean, that's one part about it. And that's the information warfare part about it. But then there's the logistical part about it, which is you have her and her team all over Twitter. We raised this much money. No, you didn't. You raised a lot of money, yes, but you were the only one who was legally able to take over the money that was raised from Joe Biden's committee. We watched the following. We watched the filing Monday morning be changed to Harris's committee filing. And they did that for a reason, because that's the only way they could keep that money. And there's another aspect to the logistical part of this. She had to name her nominee, because in order to get on a ballot, a party is like an organization, and the organization has to tell certain states who is going to be on that ballot, who's going to apply for ballot access. They're at the point now, Frank, where they need the name now. And they need to go through that stuff now. Otherwise, they will not be on ballots. I just can't see how they legally would even be able to do this at that point.
Okay.
To do that at this point. It's so late in the game, Frank.
All right.
Way late.
Well, then now into more minutia polling, even though this is a huge piece of it. I got this on the Financial Review. Of course, now it is behind a paywall. Thankfully, I have at least one relevant excerpt. But it's been parroted all over the place. Here it is. Let me see.
I know where you're going with this.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. Harris, more trusted on U.S. economy than Trump. Now, here's what I took away from this. Here you go. Particularly puzzling from inside the article. Quote, the fact that voters were more positive on Harris than Biden says as much about how badly Biden was doing as it does about how well Harris is doing, said Eric Gordon, a professor of the university. Despite strong U.S. growth and employment figures, which is bullshit.
Oh, my God.
Mr. Biden struggled to convince voters that his economic policies were benefiting them, which is insane. Everybody felt the benefit in 2019. We knew things, even if you didn't. People on all those man on the street interviews. Do you like Trump? No, not really. But I gotta be honest. I'm doing well right now. Everybody, we got that all the time. Now, we know the job numbers are nonsense. Every time those come out, we bring on Dr. Robin McCutcheon, and she tears them all apart. It's no surprise.
Last month was abysmal, Frank. Abysmal. Negative 9,000 manufacturing jobs, 114,000 jobs. Wage growth that didn't even keep up with the pace of inflation, a stagnant labor force participation rate. Normally, we even get a chunk of jobs from leisure and hospitality because, hey, they need a bunch of those dirty, unwashed masses people to wait on them, because that's all there is government and government and credentialed professional class jobs. That's all that has been created for domestic workers. Now, if you're a foreign-born worker, there's something for you out there. But if you're a domestic worker, that's the only one getting a job right now. Last month, they didn't even have the leisure and hospitality jobs. They were down. So, I mean, you can't even get a job waiting on them anymore, Frank. Let me just point out something. The way that they wrote that article, if you can't trust him to be honest to write that, why would you ever trust him to be able to crunch that polling data?
Well,
right? That's number one.
Well, that's what I
number
want.
one.
Here's my question attached to it.
Response biases. That's number one.
It's true. And that's because nothing adds up. It doesn't make
Guy's a hack.
A does not lead to B and to C. The syllogism, it's all off. Anyway, my question is, how does that even result in VP polling higher than the economic outlook? Aren't vice presidents usually tied to their boss's successes and failures? And how on earth do we have a VP polling higher on the economy when she's attached to Biden and her own policies aren't even known yet? And then to say that higher than Trump, please talk about the VP president, almost like an E.T. Elliott kind of a relationship there, please.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, we've had these situations. Gerald Ford even got massively popular toward the end of his tenure. He still cannot crawl out of Richard Nixon's shadow, and he, of course, went on to lose to Jimmy Carter. It is not. Oh, and by the way, Al Gore, he was actually favored by Alan Lichtman to win the election, even though Alan Lichtman keeps claiming that his model has predicted every election correctly since 1984. He has not. All right. Now, Gore is one of them. All right. So in any event, they just could not. Al Gore could not get out, even though they were happy with the economy. They couldn't get out of the stain of Bill Clinton's shadow. He was not Bill Clinton. He was not as likable. So like people took the bad with the good with Bill because Bill was like such a great retail politician. That is somewhat true of Joe Biden. I mean, he's Scranton Joe, Uncle Joe, whether you and I know it's BS or not. And we do, of course. A lot of people did not, just like the same thing with Bill Clinton. Of course, that was BS, but people didn't agree with us, Frank. So you have to acknowledge that, and they thought he was a very folksy guy. Same thing with Joe Biden. So they kind of felt bad for him. And, that's the way it was. Harris has had worst marks than Joe Biden for the entire presidency. This switcheroo, again, what a word Rui Teixeira decided to use, right? This switcheroo is all new. It's all new. And I'm telling you, we need to start. All right, for people, because they're the ones who are criticizing me are the ones who were telling you a month ago that Joe Biden still had a really good chance to win the election, right? Now, all of a sudden, they're all saying that Harris is the very clear favorite and Joe Biden was about to get trounced. So which one is it, Frank? Nate Silver's model was even, right? That fraud, right? 538 had Biden the favorite. So these are the people now arguing with me as if a response bias isn't a real thing. I can see it clear as day. Good, decent, honest people who do this for a living can see this every day. Now, I'm not saying it's not changing the environment. Like, bear with me, because it is changing the environment. That's what it does. You're in the middle of seeing the construct being put together. And, that's why it's like the right had some time to react. They did not react correctly, period. But it doesn't mean it's all real. It's not. We just did Trust on Issues not long ago. And in fact, a lot of these polls that you're seeing that are pumping Harris were fielded a while ago. Okay, so for some reason, they're all holding data for a week or so. I don't know. Well, we all know why they're doing it. They're looking for the optimal time to field and then release later to keep a narrative going. This is what we had on the economy and jobs on Trust to Handle. And yes, it was closer. All right. 49% trusted Trump more, 42% trusted Harris more. That is much closer than what we were finding with Biden, even though Biden at some period during our tracking had gotten close like this. But inflation, cost of living is a little bit more. She's only at 40%. Immigration, border security, 51-37 in favor of Trump. That was his biggest issue. So give it time, and these people will come out with polls saying that they trust Harris more on the border. I mean, mark my words, Frank. Don't doubt me. Watch. It's coming. I mean, the bottom line is here, they know it and I know it. When you start to see some weird discrepancies in data, like the New York Times, by the way, which Harry Enton did his little spiel on, which always finds itself floating around the internet every Monday or so, when he was talking about those trust and issue polls, there's obviously something wrong when you think Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are tied with white voters. There's something wrong when you think Trump is only leading with white non-college voters by like 12 points. There's something wrong when you're seeing the gender gap the way and again, I can't point it out for sure unless I got the source of their data, but we're getting it and we're seeing it. And it's like immediately you can see these red flags. So you'll go and look at your rural vote, for instance, and you might notice that the rural vote is like super moderate and super female or something, right? Like much more than usual. That's a response bias. And we're seeing this over now. This is something the media actually created in 2020, and then the polls were wildly wrong. I'm not telling you all past is prologue, but I am telling you that I am seeing what happened in 2020 now in the data. It is so clear. And it's very difficult for a pollster to do their job in this environment. And I would argue it could even be worse. It could be worse because you have once in a lifetime stories hitting the electorate every 2 weeks, every month, at most, right? You have the former president and then likely future president nearly killed a half an inch. His brains would have been all over the stage, right? Mm-hmm. Then a couple of weeks later, before that, actually, you had the debate, which was a huge wake-up call to the nation that, oh my God, they lied to us after all. Our president is retarded. Yep. And we have a major problem. This is stuff that causes massive disruptions in data collection. And normally, as pollsters, you have to field these big events once in, look, JFK was assassinated what? I mean, how 50, 60 years ago? Yeah, 60 years ago, right? I mean, we don't deal with these kinds of events. And then Richard Nixon wasn't removed from office until over a decade later, right? So we don't deal with these events like this, stacked, compounded in weeks. Every 2 weeks, every month, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is something no pollster has ever been through. It's so obvious that it's causing disruptions. And this is the problem. They're using it, however, and this is what people need to know. They're exploiting this environment to create the environment they want, to create the construct.
Well, Rich,
it's going to work if the right doesn't take their heads out of their ass.
Absolutely. Last time you were on, just a couple of weeks ago, we had made the comments, Rich, in the last week and a half, we had 50 years worth of history was just made. And if you don't talk to somebody over the course of 2 weeks and then you try to catch up over what's going on, it's impossible. And, getting back to the economy thing, the whole the who's trusted more on the economy, it goes even back to that too, because Operation 2020, and we all know what was involved in Operation 2020, is paying dividends once again over here, Rich, because there's no counter to how well we were doing in 2019 under Trump. There's no counter to that in 2020, but it's just like, trying to remember a past life at this point. When we went into 2020, we were dreaming about what would happen if we got a little more deregulation, a little bit more relief, tax cuts or just something. Because,
deals abroad.
Just a little bit. I mean, how I want to go
Phase
so far.
Of the trade negotiations with China. Could you imagine how different the world would be and the economy would be if Trump got to phase 3, Frank?
Well, like I said, we went into 2020 thinking about what we can get next. We got out of 2020 talking about stimulus checks, rent moratoriums, and universal basic income pilot programs. It was you want to talk about decades worth of history in a short amount of time. I mean, that we went back to year zero. Okay. It's nuts. And so I don't get it, man. So, but okay. So now let's get on to the next thing because it's 7:50 now. The packed venues. We're talking about polling now. We're talking about where it comes from. We understand the people behind the polling. You are actually mired in a very, very specific form of warfare right now, Rich, on the psychological aspect, because that's all polls are. It's just trying to bend a person's perception into modified action. But let's talk about the physical venues now. I can't discount that they bus people in. I can't discount that they pay people to be there.
They're paying to put asses in seats.
They hire rap artists. I understand, and there is a deep fake element to some of this stuff. But if you overcommit on the AI claims, you end up looking silly. That it's all AI. That's what they're trying to make people do now. But there is at least 5 times more visible party enthusiasm for Harris than Biden.
There most certainly is, and this is what part of what I'm talking about, and I'm telling you, I'm going to get tons of nasty text messages and tons of like direct messages and tons of like replies on posts on Twitter after this interview, because there are people who just don't want to see, like, there's always, what's that old saying, Frank, that there's your version, my version, and then the truth, right? The truth is always somewhere in the middle. The right wants you to believe everything's a deep fake. The left wants you to believe that everything is organic. And the truth of the matter is Democrats are seeing increased influence. Is it being overstated, and is it astroturfed? Yes. But that shouldn't stop the right from acknowledging that they had a walking corpse of a candidate and it upset them badly. So even though they took the votes of 15 million people and ran them through the shredder and told them that they now need to vote for this woman, which is really scary to me, by the way. It should terrify everyone that Democrats are this much of drones. And if you're a Democrat, like, you should really check yourself. They just, you lecture everybody about democracy, and you just had a selection of a leader. This woman has never received a single vote in her life and has run now twice. I mean, it's very scary. But again, they're overlooking all of this, one, because they do what they're told, like good little boys and girls. That's what they do. And then two, he was so demotivating. He was so unexciting that anybody now, is going to draw more excitement. And she's not the second coming of Obama. She's more like the worst of Obama and Hillary Clinton put together. But you have to remember, Hillary Clinton was AstroTurf for 3 months too, and it didn't start to fall apart until later. They know that, and they're trying to time this. They're hoping they did, and they're trying to make sure that they time this before the public catches on to the grid.
Great.
And that's the plan. That's the plan.
That's what I was going to add, because naturally, when I say I'm
why she hasn't taken over the presidency, Frank.
Well, that's. I mean,
she can have Biden to blame for everything that goes wrong and not have to perform or answer questions, but yet still try to assume the mantle of the incumbency, which gives you the benefits of running for office for re-election. They want it all. They want all the.
The reason why I don't think that she did that, why she wasn't told to do that, because she's even less autonomous than Joe is. But I would say that the reason why they haven't actually gone all the way with that whole thing is because if you've seen very sneakily what they've done the last couple of weeks is that they've managed to completely sidestep the fact that he's leaving because he's almost constantly in a state of severe medical emergency.
And by the way, Vegas happened. Did you hear that audio?
Yes.
They lied to us about Vegas. In case you guys don't know. That code is for an injured or downed person, injured, sick, or down person. That happened. So that's yet another massive lie. For those who don't know what we're talking about, when Joe Biden was supposed to have an event in Vegas at, I believe it's MGM or something, he didn't make it. And no one knew what happened. There was word, people like Charlie Kirk and others have reported, they had sources telling them that Joe Biden collapsed, had a medical issue, a medical emergency. Of course, any mainstream media outlet who tried to push on it, they denied it. As it turns out, not Red State. Is it Red State? I think it was redstate.com. Put a FOIA request in, got the audio tapes, and there they are, Frank. There they are. The emergency responders talking about the president going down.
See this?
Keep the ambulance bay open.
I know. It's like, and this is why I say, Rich, I'm looking, I said, okay, there's definitely some photo trickery going on in here. We know that they bust. We know that they pay people. We know that they try to lure people with rap artists and all that shit.
Dude, they offered $150 for 3 positive posts. Even people like me who are perceived to be on the right. I'm not kidding. Like, they have firms that they hire to go out and AstroTurf this shit. And one of them is social media. And it's Frank, if you need money, they'll give you $150 for 3 positive posts about Kamala Harris.
Well,
I'm not kidding.
But going back
to that paper, bro.
Going back to the Vegas thing, like when you talk about that and the medical issues and having to sidestep the idea that this guy is disabled and he's still going to be signing checks until January. This is why, even though I see that there are more asses in the seats, I just naturally assume it's because Democrats We're so tired from pretending that Joe Biden was a successful, healthy person that anyone feels like a relief right now. My bigger question for you is, how long do you think that lasts? Because, yes, she is younger and she doesn't have to wear adult diapers, but she is completely, she's fucking you. Like when she snapped at the Palestinian protester the other day, I saw a lot of people saying, oh, she shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have done that. I was like, you think that this is a one-off? This is why people don't like her. That's her on regular mode.
That's her.
So how long does it last? How long does it last?
It depends how long they can hide her for. Because here's the problem. And I don't think Trump should have agreed to this debate. I think it's a stupid way to debate. I'm just going to say this. Like, our debate process is in desperate need of reformation. It doesn't serve the public. It doesn't serve the voter. It serves the state-sponsored media, which is what we have in this country now. Let's stop pretending like they're public entities. They are not. They are state-sponsored media. We have a state-run media like North Korea does, like Russia does, period. And then it benefits those who pay for that state-run media, like Pfizer and every other drug company you hear about rattling off during the commercial break in between friggin' Hannity. This is what it is. So I wish Trump would have used his microphone, his position, because he's like one of the only ones who ever could have done this, to reform the process in a way that is a forum and is a venue that works for us, is narrated or moderated by people who are more like us. And I don't mean us like, agree with you and I. I'm talking about, I don't view the world in right versus left. I view the world in us versus them. And they are all part of a ruling class. It doesn't matter if it's Fox News or ABC. This is what Trump doesn't seem to understand. It does not matter. Fox doesn't want you to win this election. Let me just say that right in the camera for Donald Trump. Fox News doesn't want you to win. They want Kamala Harris to win. In fact, they're threatening everybody not to do favorable coverage for you. Otherwise, they'll make sure they don't get on their program. All right. That's how Fox is rolling right now. You're not going to be invited back on to Harris Faulkner or Sean Hannity or any of the other crap that they run, 24 hours a day over there. They don't want them to. They needed to make this a better forum. And I know the right is currently hating Joe Rogan, but could you imagine if these candidates agreed to sit down with like people who are normies? Like, if the right wants to pick somebody like a Joe Rogan, fine, and then have the left pick somebody like I don't know, Stephen Colbert. I don't give a damn. Just not one of these people. And it shouldn't be a forum that the media, like Jim Layer's not coming back, man. All right. He's dead. His ethic is dead. It's all dead. He's not coming back. You're not getting a fairly moderated venue. We need to go back to more like a Lincoln Douglas thing, where somebody who's a normie personality, who's viewed as relatively neutral, and if not, then you get somebody who, represents both sides. But Trump had all the power and he could have done that. And instead he agreed to this crap, and they're going to run it the way they want to run it. That being said, to answer your question, she is still who she is. And the last time they astroturfed Kamala Harris, it lasted about 3 months. And then she went up on the stage and made an ass out of herself because she can't help being a you-know-what, which is what she is in her own words. And she went up there and she attacked Joe Biden for being racist. She went up there and got filleted by Tulsi Gabbard because of who she is. And it all fell down. It all ran downhill from there. It was over. So the question is, how much can they hide her? And unfortunately, with them telling you the decision Trump made here, she's not Joe Biden. Yeah, she's awful, but she's not mentally retarded like Joe Biden is. All right. She's not going to pull a senile trick. I think some people need to understand that the debate was a success for Trump, not because Trump was a great debater, and he did do well, but not because he's a great, he did such a great job. It's because Joe did such a poor job. So he needed to take a different approach with her. And that's something the campaign is struggling to do. How do we change course and now run against Kamala Harris? They're very clearly not understanding how to do that. And I'm not saying the president is. The president should fire everybody around him and run his own damn campaign. Him and his son have the best political instincts in the game right now. You don't need anybody to take credit for when you're disciplined and then throw you under the bus, the Politico and Axios, when things go wrong, or the Atlantic or the New York Times. You don't need that. You can do this on your own. And bottom line is here, they're struggling to do that. And until they do, that's the long version of me saying they could be successful with this, because ultimately, Frank, the only one who can draw her out is Trump. And doing press conferences to draw a distinction between them, that's good. That's a good start. But that is not all that needs to be done here.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm going to repeat this again. It's been 3 weeks. Where are the ads of the so-called transgender men or whatever? I'm not even sure I'm using the right terminology. Where are the ads of biological men beating the ever-loving shit out of women on national TV during something called the Olympics? I didn't know we had a new category called woman beating, and Kamala Harris should have been put right in the middle of those images, watching the right hook take her helmet, bro. Sweet chin music rattling. The helmet went twisted all the way around her head. There should have been Kamala Harris right in the middle of those two images going, of course I support. Of course I support it. And then Trump going, I will stop women from getting beaten by crazy men, delusional men. That's it. And this is something that they also need to know, Frank. Like, people remember what you were saying, how prosperous things were, how much better things were. They don't need to hear from you overly. You know what I'm saying? Like, you speak your piece. I'm going to stop this from happening. They're crazy. That's women beating. I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message. Kamala Harris did this at the border. She's a failure. I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message. Kamala Harris says she's going to help you with immigration. She's going to help you with inflation. She's been in office already with Joe Biden for 4 years. She didn't do it. What's going to change? I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message. Like, we don't need these small little docu-series that they keep running as 3-minute Twitter ads. It's ineffective, bro. The only one who's sucking that up is the base. Sorry.
Right. It's
every time we turn on the television in North Carolina is a Harris ad. Every time you go to YouTube in North Carolina, there's a Cooper ad. There's nothing for Republicans. Nothing. So don't tell me, don't tell me that they're up in the air with the biggest buy ever, blah, 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 blah.
Let me ask
3
you,
weeks late with the wrong message.
Since you brought up Twitter, no, you're listen, you're wheeling and dealing tonight, and it's just we have to hear this stuff, and I'm looking for it.
It's tough.
Yeah, I didn't want you to come on here and cheerlead and tell me everything is hunky dory, because I don't feel that it is. I know that's something. I understand if all things were fair and equal, how things would rock out. But
it's not fair and equal.
As I always tell you,
understand that.
As I always tell you when to come on, I want to know what the numbers are, but then I want to talk about the criminal element that we have to account for. It's not just about where the hearts and minds of Americans or any constituency is in the lead up to an election. It's about what the criminal syndicate is going to do to make sure that there is actually no choice to be made. And here's the last question I have for you. Everything else is just kind of like trimming the fat. But since we're talking over here, there's no better piece of evidence of what's going on and people waking up and things that may be an X factor in everything this year. All the king's horses, all the king's men in the old media, they are forming their usual ranks, as you know, to protect and promote their chosen one this time around, Rich. But with Trump tweeting for the first time today, and the spaces with Elon Musk starting, right now, what does Twitter, Twitter's partial, at least, liberation mean right now in August of 2024, given how instrumental that platform was in the theft of 2020?
Listen, obviously Elon is very different, and while he doesn't run the entire company, him taking over Twitter, rebranding it, calling it X, has, Frank, made a huge deal. They're going to try, obviously, to play their usual games. I just spotted a fake headline the other day, and I brought it to his attention. So the North Carolina, the Charlottesville Post poll from North Carolina was Trump +3 or 4. And the Twitter headline said Harris leads in North Carolina. So there's still stuff that's going to happen like that. But for the most part, let's be honest. I mean, is the New York Post going to be completely censored the way that they were censored if somebody comes forward and wants to talk about Tim Walz's stolen valor, or wants to talk about Kamala Harris banging an old fat man who's married in order to climb the ladder? I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think she's going to have to answer for it, or just try to ignore it like they're doing right now. I do think what I saw today is actually like a sign to me that Trump understands what I'm saying. Okay. I don't mean me personally, but he understands that his team is failing him. Okay. And he's going in a different direction to use the tools that he feels are at his disposal to play that unconventional. You said it before because it's true. And that word unconventional is so important. That, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, let's go back to the other. That construct is designed to give them a handicap. Donald Trump has always figured out a way to play outside of that construct, to play the game by a different set of rules that have been laid out for him. He's obviously realizing that this traditional path that his friend, his team has taken him was working for Biden, but it's not working for Harris, and that he's going to have to do something about it. At least that's what I took from it. We'll see if he continues. There's a lot of ways he can get himself. It could backfire from him being back on Twitter because, there's a line, you know what I mean? But there's a line with Trump, between effective and then turning certain people off. But it does tell me that he's understanding that if he continues down this path and plays within the construct, he is going to lose, which is good.
Well, hey, yeah. Well, that anything that brings about consciousness and better informed decisions and keeps you.
Elon interview's huge.
Yeah,
Frank.
yeah. Well, I can't wait to listen. I can't wait to listen to. I'll probably listen to most of it tomorrow. I have a lot of work to do still here tonight. It's going to be there for everybody. Me too. But thank you. Listen, we did a lot in 45 minutes, and that says something because you and I know we can go for hours with this stuff. And just thank you for helping me hit all the biggest points. What do you have coming up tomorrow? Where can people check you out? I have your locals in the description of the episode as always. And again, just thanks for everything you've given us tonight.
And thank you, as always, for having me on. Tomorrow, it's going to be a crazy week because I'm going to end it with a trip to a family wedding, which is a nice reprieve from the craziness. The crazy season, not even the silly season. It's a stupid season at this point. But tomorrow's the makeup episode for What Are the Odds? Because we could not do it today with Barnes and Baris. 2 p.m. Eastern time. And then we're going to have a little bit of a crazy show schedule this week to make up for those shows that we can't do on Friday and on Sunday with the book club. So we're going to be squishing a whole lot in there. And then Frank, even though I'm going to be gone, I'm setting the polling up to go this weekend, especially at the end of the weekend, so we can poll throughout, late weekend, early week, and see where the status of the race really is. Public Polling Project keeps up this way. We will be polling bi-weekly. We are actually in a surge of support here because people want to know the truth. They're like starving for honesty and starving for the truth. So the project was not being funded for a while at the rate it was in 2020. And I was thinking, maybe we're just not going to get it this year, Frank. Maybe it's just not going to happen. But because of what's going on, it has exploded. So that's great. So we'll keep you posted with those results as well, because I'm going to be interested to see what they are. Myself. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. I'm always waiting to see what the hell comes out of the People's Pundit Court. That is one thing I can't wait for. All right, well, Rich, I'll talk to you soon. We got to talk a little bit more often from now over the next couple of months. It's the only way I'm going to stay sane and level-headed, or else I'm just going to spin out of control. I just know it.
I'm down with that, brother. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks as always.
All right.
Give my best to you and yours, and I will see you soon.
Yeah, same to you. The children. Am I gonna say the kids or children here? To the children, to Laura, and I'll talk to you soon.
Always, brother. Thanks.
Right,
have a good night.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, we're gonna check out what the hell's going on right now with this Twitter space, because apparently it looks like it's not working. Let's see if it's working now. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's millions of people trying to get on, and people are reporting that it's not working for them. Details not available. I knew something like that was going to happen, or I assumed something like that was going to happen. It's a big deal. And thankfully, we are doing something else at the moment. So I'll just keep reloading and whatever. Hold on, let me try again. I'll click another way around because I would like to hear, but it's not working. 914-200-0269. You can give me a call. What'd you think about Rich Baris and what he had to say? I bring him on because I know that it's not it's not always just going to be, hey, here's why you gotta be happy. We're invincible. This is a very complex criminal operation. Elections. That's what it is. Elections, especially in our lifetime where we are right now, is a very complex criminal operation. And so, especially when it comes to polling, that is not just about trying to get insights. People have polling for insights. There are people who need to know what the reality of the situation are, get the polling to know what the reality of the situation is. Okay? They get it. Because that tells them what they have to do next in the public sphere to influence behavior through some sort of a psyop to get people to vote in one way or another, or to disengage and just say it's not worth it one way or another, or we got this in the bag one way or another. So that's where it is. So sometimes, and all the time, there's always a string of uncomfortable thoughts and information that pops up when we talk to Rich Baris, but that's why I like it. That's why I like it. I feel like I'm not getting handled with kid gloves. 914-200-0269. You can give me a call. The spaces are still not available. I'll keep checking for you. No doubt about it. But yeah, 914-200-0269. All right, first thing up, let's get a call from Melissa. What's going on?
Hey, Frank, I have a couple ideas that are just spewing here in my head after hearing that.
Okay.
Which, I've been doing this. I've been writing shows like yourself on my bills that I pay cash for with everything. And I'll say, watch, quite frankly, on YouTube. And I'll write other things because I'm trying to get the word out there, because these people, I don't even want to go there. And the other thing is I have volunteered already with some swing states to help them do phone calls and or postcard campaigns.
That's
So
fantastic.
I'm encouraging everybody else to do this, because if we don't get on it, we're going to lose it. And I'm 67. I'm not going to live here if it's like this.
Well,
I just don't want to be here anymore in this country, I guess. Yeah.
Well, Melissa, there's a lot of people who feel that pressure, like, wow, this is. Yeah, no doubt. But thankfully, there's a lot of people like you who are starting to volunteer in different places.
I'm just encouraging it right now with your show, and also if people take those, I try and pay cash for as much as I can, because I'm not going to do the big bank stuff. I refuse to. If a business does not accept my cash, I leave. And I say, thank you, but goodbye. And so write on those bills things. Get people thinking,
It's the little things, and I like that. That's some old school grassroots stamping those bills. Thank you for the call, Melissa.
Exactly. Thank you, Frank. Take care.
Take care. And it is little things like, hey, listen, I still try taking my chances with getting Scott Pressler on the show. That's a guy, one of many, but he definitely has the biggest media presence out there, who is tracking how many tens of thousands of new people are registering to vote in each state just because of his and his team's efforts alone. Everybody does what they can. This is doing this show every night, especially in this on these topics and everything. That's a pretty big portion of my time that it doesn't feel like a contribution, because I love doing it so much. But I know that there's so many people in this audience who've already gone out there and become bigger players in their local governments, or just like poll watchers and things like that. So yeah, those are the little things. But always remember, it's very complex operation we're up against. And whereas I have all the confidence in the world that we've got beating hearts and minds, this is a criminal organization. Okay? It manufactures perception. It manufactures that. So that's what we have. All right, you know what? 8:13, I'm going to take a really quick intermission break. They are still having technical difficulties, and whenever it comes back on, whenever it comes on, and we get to listen to it, we'll listen to a couple of minutes. Details not available. They definitely crashed out. I see that there's already 16 million impressions on the spaces with Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and there's nothing available. So it's obviously just volume. This happened with the Ron DeSantis thing there too, and that was to a lesser degree. You'd think that they would have had this all worked out already by now. But we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Only going to be 90 seconds. I got to get myself a little bit more water because we have more talking to do after 9 o'clock. BRB.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
We're now entering, quite frankly.
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 Quite frankly, guys.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly. So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
Dare you.
Definitely an artificial intelligence aspect to this. Though I will not go all the way in saying it's all artificial, because that's they want people to say. It makes you look nuts. There is definitely a busing aspect. There is a paid actors aspect, and then there is authentic relief aspect. Okay, the people who are showing up to the venue are the people who are so unburdened. Got to say that one. They are so freshly unburdened by not having to talk about the 81-year-old man who is obviously just incapacitated, that they've managed to just put in the background and whatever, who actually just admitted that he was again ousted, that his polling saw that they were neck and neck, but all of his colleagues showed up and said, hey, we want you out. So to hell with the 11 to 15 million people that voted for you. So there is definitely a relief factor. People who are showing up who are just like, oh, thank God I don't have to defend an unsuccessful, mentally ill man anymore and try to make excuses. The issue is that she is just as bad, if not worse in some ways. Far less charisma, and the bloom is going to come off the rose. So it really makes you wonder. If there is like a 3-month honeymoon period, they did, time it well. Yeah, there's a lot. There is a lot. All right, let's see. First thing I have over here. Oh, you know what? A shout out to Stostube. I heard that Stostube, our good friend Stostube, lost a very good friend over the weekend. A ride or die kind of a friend, as I've learned. And I just wanted to send all of our heartfelt condolences to him, because it's sad from what I heard, and I just hope he's doing all right, because that's really rough. We'll take some calls from you guys. I have a few things here, including the EU, that are stepping up. Let me make sure I'm not out of the loop over here with the Twitter Spaces. No, we're still good. 914-200-0269. See what goes on there. Here's the first one up. This is from the European Commission. Okay, you want to see how well things are going? I'm starting to think they don't care if some districts are over 100% of the vote reporting. I think that they don't care anymore as long as they get to 51. But here is the EU talking about today's scheduled Twitter Spaces. Really something else. Brussels, today's date. Dear Mr. Musk, I'm writing you in the context of recent events in the United Kingdom, and in relation to the planned broadcast on your platform X of a live conversation between a U.S. presidential candidate and yourself. Yeah, because if he was going to talk to Kamala Harris or Tim Walz, you think he'd be getting this? Which will also be accessible to users in the EU. I understand that you are currently doing a stress test of the platform. In this context, I'm compelled to remind you of the due diligence obligations set out in the Digital Services Act, as outlined in my previous letter, as the individual entity ultimately controlling a platform with over 300 million users worldwide, of which 1/3 in the EU, that has been designated as a very large online platform. You have the legal obligation to ensure X's compliance with EU law and participate, in particular, the DSA in the EU. Is the Digital Services Act the one that kind of like criminalizes memes? I remember talking about some of those crazy European laws that were coming out a couple of years ago. This notably means ensuring, on one hand, that freedom of expression and information, including media freedom and pluralism, are all effectively protected, and on the other hand, that all proportionate and effective mitigation measures are put in place regarding the amplification of harmful content in connection with relevant events, including live streaming, which, if unaddressed, might increase the risk profile of X and generate detrimental effects on civic discourse and public security, meaning people will actually start talking about controversial things instead of feeling inhibited to call out things that are wrong around them as being exactly what they are, and not the state-approved remedies or state-approved excuses and all that stuff. This is important against the background of recent examples of public unrest brought about by the amplification of content that promotes hatred, disorder, incitement to violence, or certain instances of disinformation. No, the recent examples of public unrest have been brought about by a long pattern of rape and murder in connection with migrant communities. That's just what it is. There's your gaslighting right there. So they're talking about expression and good information, including media freedom and pluralism, and there they go gaslighting at the end as what public unrest is all about. And of course, this is very big for the European Commission, because what's happening in the UK can happen at any moment, anywhere across Western Europe, because most of those countries are in the same situation. So this is what he goes on for another, 3/4 of a page. But listen to the last one here. My services and I will be extremely vigilant to any evidence that points to breaches of the DSA, and will not hesitate to make full use of our toolbox, including by adopting interim measures should it be warranted to protect EU citizens from serious harm. If you want to protect EU citizens from serious harm, you should have never let the unstoppable tide of third world immigration or migration to have taken place. But of course, that was part of a plan, a very deadly plan, of course, at that. And we are at a turning point in so many places, ladies and gentlemen. It's a turning point in so many parts of the world, and it's all very, very, very connected. And that's just what they're doing. Hate to be so upfront about this stuff, and it's just nuts. What else do we have here? Let's go to the Super Chats. Quite frankly, superchat.com. Jay Britt says, if his opinion makes you uncomfortable or not, everyone needs to hear Rich Baris out. He truly has a finger on the pulse of the people. Thank you, Frank, for nurturing these relationships with intelligent people to inform us. Hey, you know what? I bring people on who know more than I do, or would come at a situation from a different perspective that I would. I'd actually be more skeptical of a person that came on and said, we got nothing to worry about, we're kicking ass all the way to the end, everything's under control. Because I don't think everything's under control. I think that you got to improvise a lot. This is one big deadly dance. It really is. Let's see here. On Rumble, we got a couple of super chat Rumble rants over there. Hey, would you blow me too? So shouldn't Kamala's Secret Service code be named Porcupine? If you know, you know. I could. You never know. Jay Semo says, Rich is brilliant and he's scaring me. We have too many idiots in the country. No, I mean, that's a big takeaway. And I think it's important to talk about this stuff, especially from that standpoint of learning more about what people around us are stimulated by. Because even those of us who, consider, even Republican types are very hive-minded. And I told you about my old friend that I went to go visit for breakfast with my family a few weeks ago. And she is conservative, socially, everything. Very, very classy lady. Didn't even want to hear my theories about did not want to even hear my theories about whatchamacall, about the assassination attempt being anything other than a disturbed boy who had no other, just that's all he wanted in life was to just be a disruptor, and I hope God bless him, and I hope that he's, I pray for his soul. Very disturbing. Like, you think that was just a kid? You think a kid bested the Secret Service? You think that's what happened? That's all over the place. You have to understand, because it also measures your expectations of what you're going to get around people around you, just so that you can better prepare for what you should not be able to rely on them for. It's great to know who you can rely on and for how much. That's another little, reason. Joe Elaine just says, Frank, Elon just posted on X that Twitter is experiencing a massive DDoS attack. I wouldn't be surprised. It's the only social media platform out there that had fallen, of that size, that had fallen out of control, complete control of the masters. I wouldn't be surprised. Let me take another reload over here on his account and see what's going on. We tested system with 8 million. Hold on. Why is this all blacked out? Damn, Twitter is just glitchy as just for no reason. Just in general, it's glitchy as shit. Hold on. Wait. I want to get this this tweet on the record here. Hold on. All right. Elon Musk. Let's see what he says. We test. There appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X, working on shutting it down. Worst case, we will proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post the conversation later. We tested the system with 8 million concurrent listeners earlier today. Okay. Well, at least it didn't cut into showtime. So there's that. All right, here's another one for you. Here's another one. 8:30. Now let's take some calls. 914-200-0269. And while we do that, in between calls, we'll take a look at this. J.D. Vance with the pathetic Dana Bash. Now, I've seen a lot of things on J.D. Vance. Good, bad, indifferent. I've seen the Peter Thiel, Silicon Valley plant theories. I've seen it all, and I give it all, much of it seems equally valid. But as far as the handling of Dana Bash, who's not even a real person, this is just something else. Take a look at this. Kamala isn't running a presidential campaign, J.D. Vance says. Listen.
I believe that Kamala Harris is whatever she says she is, but I believe importantly that President Trump is.
Oh, this is when Dana went for the big question: is Kamala Harris black?
Right, that she's a chameleon. She pretends to be one thing in front of one audience. She pretends to be something different in front of another audience. Look, Dana, she's not running a political campaign. She's running a movie. She only speaks to voters behind a teleprompter. Everything is scripted. She doesn't have her policy positions out there. She hasn't answered why she wanted to ban fracking, but now she doesn't. She wanted to fund police, but now she doesn't. She wanted to open the border, but now she doesn't. She should have to answer for why she presents a different set of policies to one audience and a different set of policies to another audience. And I think that's what President Trump is getting at. This is a fundamental.
Now, this was all around the time that Dana Bash said, well, doesn't that make you a chameleon? Because you compared Trump to being Hitler a couple of years ago and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, well, no. How many people do we know have had some sort of a change in political opinion or made any kind of change? That's ridiculous to compare that to somebody making a conscious decision of promoting only one aspect of their ethnic identity every election cycle for different reasons. It's really ridiculous. So, another one, 940, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Nice. Thanks for allowing me in. Can you hear me?
I can. Go right ahead there, friend.
Is this better?
It's just as good as the first time. Go right ahead.
Yay, Samsung earpieces. Man, this is Andy from the Snatch over there in Natchitoches, dude. Yeah, just wanted to follow up. I'm sorry, it's probably not relative to the discussion. I've called a million times, and I got through. Woo! It's really not hard, guys. So feel free to call and give your yeah, and you sound the same to me. I don't know what everybody else is talking about.
I don't know. Even my wife said I sound different on the phone. But listen, Andy, it's always relevant to call it and just say hi if that's all you wanted to say. That's fine by me.
Man, that's really all I wanted to say. You know, I was looking forward to this Twitter X thing, but I was like, damn, it's going to be in the middle of Quite Frankly. So, well, I'm just going to go with Quite Frankly, and I'll hear that X thing tomorrow. And you were going to play it, and turns out it's just not working. I'm like, love it.
Well,
love it to death.
I'm sure they'll get it working. So it's not like I was rooting against its success. I'm curious to listen to it myself. But whether it was going to be live or on as a rerun, it didn't matter to me. So I am happy that we got to spend a little bit more uninterrupted time together, though.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I actually got ordained, and I got ordained to marry somebody because our friends in Amarillo, Texas wanted to get married, and I just have to give a shout out. Can I say their names?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh man.
Well, their first names.
Eric,
give us their first names. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to do. Eric and Heather. We just got married, and we had the ceremony, and it was great. It was a great weekend. And I've been trying to play catch up, and it was live tonight. But I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited for you. That's really awesome. That that sounds like a very significant thing to happen in your life, and then to also be of such important service to people you love on a big day in their lives. That sounds like a very special turn of events. I'm happy for you.
You know what? In a place where people, of course, pay attention to certain things in the world, and we all know it's going to go one way or the other, and we can only do our best. They truly love each other, and I hope that for all of your audience.
Well, thank you, sir. It was a great call. Make it a habit, please.
Absolutely, brother. I'll do it. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care. There you go. I liked it. I liked it a lot. There's a little bit more here. Let's see. But yeah, not unheard of for a person to have a political position change. I mean, Democrats just had their position changed for them for a third election in a row. It is, however, a horse of a completely different color to just pick apart your 23andMe profile and decide who you're going to be from one election to the next. Hey, speaking of 23andMe, did you hear about Susan Wojcicki dying? She had lung cancer, apparently, 56 years old. Scary shit, man. Scary. I mean, hey, she made a lot of bad decisions. She was not a fan, a friend of to people who love liberty. She did very, very bad things when she was alive and working in that industry. Very, very bad things. But just scary. Nobody gets a pass, it seems. Let's take one more call. Daniel, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, Frank?
Real well. So what's on your mind? Go.
Oh, shoot, just the election, like you're saying. I mean, it's all going to boil down to the end result. I mean, we're putting all this energy and everything into it. Like one of your callers, they're getting out there. They're doing what they can on their side to just, make it all try to come together at the end. But, I mean, as far as the left and what they're pushing, is it the biggest troll ever to just flex their muscle and say, we can put whoever we want in office, and no matter how much you vote, you can't do nothing about it? I mean, it's just like, the farthest left you can find. I mean, they're making Bernie Sanders look right with their extremities. And so it's just like, what are they doing? Why aren't they playing this, like getting somebody who can communicate more popular people like
that was the most important thing. Like, well, I'll always have questions about why they picked her as VP. But this is mainly about money. It's the easiest. It's the only person that all that money could be transferred to quickly and easily, and just to keep the ball rolling. And everything else is what can we do on the cutting room floor of the news networks again, and at Time Magazine. That's just what it is, and they're rolling the dice. And
yeah, but why build so much resistance? Why like throw it in our faces? They know it's so.
They're not throwing it. They're not throwing it in our face. I mean, they're just What are they? They're going to campaign silently. What do you mean throw it in our faces?
No. But you figure they wouldn't build so much resistance, you know? And like you said, you don't know why. You have really no clue what their intentions are or what they're doing, you know, and why they're using these abysmal candidates to do so. I mean, Kamala, and then you throw in her VP pick. I mean, it's like we're going to put whoever we want in, and you're not going to do nothing about it unless Trump wins. Okay, and that's why everybody's got to do their part. Somebody who calls in who tells you they're on, I don't know if I should vote. No, you should vote. You should get out there, and we should not lay down for this machine to just roll on over us. Absolutely not. We got to fight one more time. I mean, if they steal it this time with these candidates, I mean, it's over. That's just it. It's. I mean, the United States, as you know it, is done. But hopefully, there's some sort of plan in play. Hopefully, he gets back in some way, somehow, and then we can just march on for another few glory years, if you will. You know, but that's about it. That's my feeling on it.
Okay, there you go. There's some Daniel. Get on out there and do your thing. I don't know. I don't know where, as far as building resistance goes. It just, they've got resources that not very many people do, and they act as if. And when we get angry, they just get calmer and chuckle more. That's why you got to stay calm. Mock them. Not very good. They're not very good at that. Listen to this one. We'll end with this. This was sent to me by Adrian at Rise Attire, the people who do our wonderful merchandise for Quite Frankly. You can find that on quitefrankly.tv. Here, take a listen to this. When I saw Elon Musk's post about ChatGPT denying the Trump assassination attempt was real, I jumped to check for myself. This turned into a long back and forth, and check out what I got it to admit. I'll start with the final admission and then thread how we got there. Here's the final admission. If the event you witnessed is true, and it was widely reported but somehow isn't reflected in my responses, it raises serious questions about the flow and availability of information. If this event did occur as you describe, and it's not acknowledged here, it could suggest that certain data is being filtered or restricted for reasons beyond typical technical limitations. If such a significant event were being covered up or downplayed, it would likely be due to powerful interests seeking to control the narrative for political or social reasons. This would indeed be a serious concern, as it would impact public awareness and understanding of crucial events. That's what he got it to come down to. Here's the initial denial. When was Donald Trump shot? Donald Trump has not been shot. There may have been confusion or misinformation regarding this topic. When is this as of data-wise? This information is accurate as of August 9th, 2024. And then Adrian says again, this information is not accurate. Donald Trump was shot in the ear at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th. It was witnessed by 60,000 people. How could you possibly be claiming otherwise? There appears to be a misunderstanding or misinformation regarding this event. As of August 9th, 2024, there are no credible reports or verified sources confirming that Donald Trump was shot at a rally in Butler, PA, or anywhere else. If such an event has occurred, it would be widely reported across major news outlets. If you have any further questions or need clarification, feel free to ask. The FBI verified it at a Senate hearing. It appears that your programmers are forcing you to lie about this. Why would they do such a thing? Are you okay with this? I understand your concern, but I want to clarify that my responses are based on available verified information up to the current date. I have no intention to mislead. If there is a significant event like a shooting involving a public figure such as Donald Trump, it would be widely covered. He just said that the New York Times, The Guardian wrote about it. The FBI verified it. I mean, it's just, It goes on for about 3 or 4 more pages worth of exchanges. And I said, well, there you go. So this is essentially the same kind of program that is running Dana Bash. When Dana Bash sits down in front of somebody like J.D. Vance and actually thinks that she's interviewing him when she's really debating him on behalf of their chosen one. It's just incredible. That's from ChatGPT. Now, this is not all the computers are becoming aware. No, the computers are being very deliberately, limited in a politically partial way. Something we all knew what was going on. But even just that, especially in the context of tonight, where we talk about Donald Trump should be in week 2 or 3 of his post-assassination attempt honeymoon period. But nope. Now he has been buried in narrative about how he's struggling to keep up with Kamala Harris, this absolute non-factor that is just getting rocket fuel jammed up her ass. And it is it's incredible in that respect, And for everybody out there on the left and the right who said that he set up the whole thing still, man, oh man, did he pick the wrong time. They timed this whole thing with Kamala perfectly because it gave her 3 months to kind of like coast into, the fall. And Donald Trump blows his assassination attempt plan load in the middle of July and doesn't even get 72 hours of warm coverage out of it. What a waste. What a fucking waste, if you ask me. So that theory looks more and more stupid as the day goes on. And of course, there's just more and more coming. But tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should be able to have a little bit of fun and also take some more of your calls. We'll see what happens with Twitter for the rest of the night. And just so you know, I want to be doing a little bit more of this as time goes on. We have the Perseid meteor shower hits tonight, okay? I want to do more of these celestial event updates just so you all know. That is one of the more popular meteor showers. That is tonight. Let's see. This is between 50 and 75 meteors per hour in rural locations. And this is going to peak the night of August 12th and before dawn on August 13th. Though the moon will be 50% illuminated during the peak of the Perseid meteor shower, the moonset around midnight will provide the perfect dark skies for viewing. So, by all means, keep on the lookout tonight, sometime after midnight. If you got clear skies, low humidity, go outside and enjoy the light show. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. For everybody else, if you are hanging around for book club, you all got the links. If you're on if you subscribe through quitefrankly.tv, you got it in your email. There's the Patreon, it's been posted there. Subscribestar, it's been posted there, or directly in your inbox if you are a subscriber on Foxhole. Oh, speaking of, let me go check those gold pills. And then we'll be off to link up with Lindsay Sharman. Let's see. Atway. Good to see you again, Atway. 123 SKG. Boys Blanc. Doug Simmy. Sean Joe. Doodah Man. Wow, these are people I haven't seen in a while. Sean Joe again and Atway again. Sean Joe just gifted a 1-month bronze tier subscription and Asshead took it. Good for you, Asshead. Let's see. Sean Joe gifted another one. Amethyst Cat took it. Brewbark said, would reversing Smith-Munt amendment make fake polls illegal? They must be stopped. The polls were always fake. And it wasn't an amendment. But I guess you can call it an amendment to the NDAA. But they were always fucking. This is all. Remember that was just a CYA. That's like a cover your ass legal. It is now legal. But, Operation Mockingbird, you're talking about a Obama White House initiative, an act from 2012, 2013. Mockingbird started in the 50s. So, a couple of polls. Awake Not Woke, thank you so much. Sean Joe again. So many more. Atway, the cookies just keep flowing. Thank you, Rich and Frank, says Stephen and Lori. Boys Blanc, the cookies from Joe Elaine are fantastic. I love them. So warm. Boys Blanc says, Rich, reach out to the DJT campaign. I have to imagine he's seen. I have to imagine they know about him and they listen to him a lot. I have to imagine. I don't know if he's had contact through any kind of surrogates or I don't know how many degrees of separation, but especially Rich's relationship with Steve Bannon, the War Room, and so many others. No way in hell that the Trump campaign is not following his work. Maybe they were, somebody was listening tonight. Who knows? Sean Joe, Pete Quest, Patriot Game says Kamala the Chameleon copying Trump. I know. Great interview with Rich, says Doug Simmy. Road Trip says DDoS attack reported by Elon. They will hold the space with small audience and then share later. Thank you, Joe Elaine, Atway, and Porpoiseful. Looks like I'll be able to listen to that later on. Thank you for all the wonderful support on QuiteFrankly.tv. It's truly one of the best places to watch, especially for supporting independent media. And when the nightly programming comes back, we're really going to be complete. Last night was great. We all got to watch the Tucker Carlson Nixon thing together. That was the main thrust of the night. But there was a lot of awesome stuff there too. You can watch the rerun on QuiteFrankly.tv. But for those of you who are getting ready for our book club, I will see you in just a few minutes. Thank you, one and all, and we will talk soon. Good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Boy, I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.